welcome everyone to this session. Nice to have you back, Karen, in the Zoom room. So we're just gonna dive straight into it, and we'll have a look first at our quote for today, and let's just bring that up. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so I'm just sorting out the YouTube live stream so that anyone can watch it. Okay, so let me just share my screen. So let me know if you can see that.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, Sally, if you could have a read of that for us. The quote.
Because breath has no form as such, it has since ancient times been equated with spirit, the formless one life. The fact that breath has no form is one of the reasons why breath awareness is an extremely effective way of bringing space into your life, of generating consciousness. Being aware of your breath forces you into the present moment, the key to all inner transformation. Whenever you are conscious of the breath, you are absolutely present. You may also notice that you cannot think and be aware of your breathing. Conscious breathing stops your mind.
Yeah, so any thoughts on that?
I was just wondering how that fitted in with my mystical experience the end of last week, that when I had no breath, I was out of form. I was connected with spirit. I was in my formless spirit. Yeah, it's kind of changed my relationship with breath, having that experience of just not needing breath. So for me, when I now am conscious of my breath, I realize that it's not a necessity.
It's a tool. So the breath is not the ultimate outcome, because obviously we're not ultimately bodies and we don't need to breathe. But it's a very useful tool to help us stop our minds and become more present. So that's where most people start. They don't start with, well, I suppose, breathing in and then holding the breath is part of breath awareness. It's certainly a breathwork technique. So anything where you're becoming conscious of your breathing helps you to focus in the moment. If your mind is going all over the place, it brings the mind into the present moment, and you just focus there now, which is the value of it. And you're not off thinking about all kinds of other stuff, past, future. It's just here now. So it brings you into present moment awareness, and then that becomes a foundation. If you keep doing that, then you start to open more and more to that state of pure formless awareness that you experienced. So it's part of the foundation. It's part of the journey to get there. It's not the ultimate destination. In the yogic tradition, they have these 8 limbs. Pranayama, which means breath control, is number 4, I think, of 8. So it's not the ultimate destination. The ultimate destination is samadhi, which you described, that state of just being in the pure formless awareness, without the need for any tools. You don't need breath awareness or body awareness or any of that to be in that state. But to get there, they figured out, millennia ago, that the breath was a very helpful tool to stop the mind chatter. So very difficult to say stop thinking, because then the mind's still thinking. You're thinking about not thinking, and then resisting your thoughts, and you're trying to go, well, stop thinking like that. And if you say, stop thinking of a pink elephant, what are you going to think of? A pink elephant. That's just the nature of mind. So through much exploration of mind, these ancient teachers figured out that this wasn't the best way to control the mind. The best way was to start with something simple like breath, and just observe the breath, and that would then bring the mind into present moment awareness that was not rooted in worldly thinking. You were just present, and in that presence you were aware of something else. You're aware of awareness itself. So what starts to arise more and more then is pure formless awareness through this practice of breath awareness. As Eckhart says, the fact that breath has no form is one of the reasons why breath awareness is an extremely effective way of bringing space into your life and of generating consciousness. So the breath is this formless essence, timeless essence that the yogis and the mystics and so on have known about for years, and it's just a tool to access that. It stops your mind. In the ancient teachings, many of the languages, like in Latin, breath is spirare, inspirare, to breathe in. So what was synonymous was the breath and life. They were the same words. Life, the same with the Greek. Pneuma was synonymous with both breath and life, because they made this connection between this formless life and breath, which was formless. There's nothing new tangible about breath. So kind of consciousness. Personally, I'd change that language. You don't generate consciousness. You access the awareness that you already are through this tool of the breath. So it's a very, very helpful tool as a starting point on the journey to start controlling the monkey mind and bring it into awareness of this fundamental awareness. And then at the deeper levels, like if you have an experience like you had, the breath can drop away. You don't necessarily need to be conscious of the breath there, because you're just rooted in that awareness. But that's a more advanced stage. So this is sort of, foundation of the house of your spiritual life and awakening, if you like. It can really help you to lay a solid foundation and open yourself up to these kinds of mystic experiences more and more.
So
I hope that answers the question.
What comes to my mind is, when somebody's in a fearful state, they breathe fast. So they're more in physical when they breathe more.
Yeah.
And the less you breathe, the more, especially if you concentrate on the spaces between the breaths, then you're more connected with spirit. So that's quite interesting, isn't it? That the more breath there is, the more physical connection or attachment there is, and less breath, more spiritual attachment, or not attachment, more spiritual connection. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, breath awareness points you to what's beyond the breath, which is that formless awareness.
Yeah.
Beyond, we don't need to breathe in heaven. There's no body to need to breathe. So it's a tool. It's not the ultimate destination. And as you say, people get in a very panicked state. They breathe very fast, and typically through the mouth. There was a scene in a movie called As It Is in Heaven, which is a great movie. I'll put it as one of our movies to watch, I think. And the pastor in that movie, he was very rooted in his mind, and he's freaked out by this guy who'd come in. He was into music. He was a conductor, and he'd taken over the choir, and he was getting everyone to express their inner self and their voice through music, singing. And of course, this was a huge threat to his little domain of, he was supposedly the sort of spiritual guide of the little community. So he's absolutely freaking out. And he's just panting, and it was like so such a good demonstration of of what a panic attack is. Just this extreme breath, as though he was running, but he wasn't, and it really wasn't helping him. He was going into a fight or flight response state, and actually you have to stop breathing. In hyperventilation, it says stop breathing, hold the breath briefly, because you over oxygenate it. So too much oxygen isn't good, and they found that breath holding is particularly powerful technique for energizing the body. So if you can hold your breath for 2 or 3 minutes, what you simulate is the environment in the womb, which was a low oxygen environment. And so then you get things happening that regenerate the body, like stem cell production in that environment. So it's a fallacy to say the more you breathe, the better. That's just not true. It's actually breathing less, breathing slower, breathing less, but deeper, and being mindful of it. That's really the key things. Breath awareness is being mindful of the breath, because it brings you into the present moment. If you're just concentrating on your breath, then there's nothing else. You can't be thinking about anything else. So your mind's not thinking about your life and your problems and past and future. You're completely present now, and that opens you up to this formless awareness that Eckhart talks about. Forces you into the present moment, which, remember, is where this awareness is. This awareness is only ever here now. You'll never find that awareness in thoughts about the past or the future, because they're just thoughts. There's no true awareness there. Okay, so Lynn, if you can read paragraph 1, today's inspirational quote.
In today's inspirational quote, Eckhart Tolle tells us the simplest way to stop your monkey mind's constant chatter and bring your attention into the present moment, a secret that is literally right under your nose, but which you, like most people in the world, may never have paid any attention to.
So it's a secret in plain sight. Most people really don't. They just breathe unconsciously. We're unconscious breathers, which is a good thing in one sense. If you pass out, you're not going to die. And whereas if dolphins are conscious breathers, interesting. So if they go unconscious, they stop breathing. Yeah,
and they can choose to stop breathing.
Yeah, they can choose to stop breathing. Whereas we are unconscious breathers, but that means that we can just do it our whole lives without really ever being aware of it, which is what most people do. And yet there's this incredible tool for higher awareness and personal transformation literally right under their noses, and they're not aware of it. So it's a secret in plain sight, literally right under your nose.
I was aware of it a couple of days ago when I started to panic a bit. I was breathing far too fast because I got lost. Yeah.
And you notice, so it's kind of the canary in the gold mine in a sense, because if you start breathing fast and you notice that, that's a sign that you're stressed.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, if I observe my breath, it's a signpost that, yes, okay, I'm getting stressed now. Okay, well, the same mechanism, the signpost can also be the mechanism of changing it. So if I go into my breath and I just breathe nice, deep, slow, rhythmical breaths, and I bring awareness into my breath, then I can change that. So when you breathe in and out through your nose, deep, slow, diaphragmatic breaths, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite of the fight or flight response. So you activate these other chemicals come in that counter cortisol and adrenaline, things like dopamine and serotonin that calm you down. And that naturally happens if you breathe nice, deep, slow, rhythmical breaths. So why wouldn't you use such a powerful system to help you? So then you're activating the body and the biochemistry to help your mind stay in this calm state. And it's so simple. The beauty of the breath is it's always there. It can never go away. You can't ever lose and say, well, I haven't got my my meditation cushion, or I haven't got the optimal conditions for doing a meditation, or I haven't got my headphones, or whatever other things that you rely on. This is just okay. I can just breathe, so it's always there for you, which is why the Buddha and many gurus, yogis, mystics for millennia have focused on and used it as their primary tool for a catalyst for this awakening process. It's typically part of most meditation techniques. And people say, well, what's the difference between breath work and meditation? Well, breath work is the technique, and meditation is the state that it takes you into. But they become at the highest level, become one. It's like, well, the state and the breath merge, and it just becomes this one awareness that it takes you into samadhi, which was the ultimate goal of all the gurus and yogis and mystics. And that's been now called mindfulness. So really, mindfulness practices focus on the breath, and they focus on body awareness, which is the essence of Buddhist meditation called vipassana. You focus on the breath and you focus on scanning the body awareness. And they've just labeled it something else. They've called it mindfulness, which makes it more acceptable to a Western mind. If you decouple it from religion, but it's essentially the same practice. Because in the end, Buddhism and all of these kinds of Eastern teachings are much more, they're less dogmatic and more experiential. They're more about practice. Okay, practice and experience it for yourself. And then you will see, that these things are true. So there's some teaching in Buddhism, there's the Four Noble Truths focused on practice for yourself, do the meditation, and then you will start to have these experiences. Whereas the Western traditions, it got more focused on the belief. No, you just have to believe in this dogma. You believe that Jesus said, died for your sins and that you're saved, and then you'll be saved. More belief than actual practice. So breath work kind of takes you out of that and puts you back into the experience. It's experiential, which I like, because in the end, that's what all of these teachings lead to. Yeshua never said, believe in me as some demigod, believe that I came to save you from your sins, believe, that was invented after his death to popularize this growing cult of Christianity. But what he was actually saying was experience it for yourself. You are the I am presence that I am. I have nothing special. He said this, right? I'm nothing special. You have exactly the same awareness as I have. You're just not aware of it. So he's pointing people within to an inner experience. And I think that got largely, that mindful approach got stripped out in the subsequent generations. And as people taught it became more dogmatic and more faith-based than experientially based, which is a shame, because I think it was his original teaching was very, very similar to the more Eastern, more mindful kind of Eastern teachings like Buddhism and yoga and so on. Okay, so where are we? We're in the second paragraph. So simply observing, you finished your toast. Simply observing your breath, even for a few seconds, stops your mind.
Oh, sorry, me. You froze.
No, I was asking Karen.
Okay.
Not responding, so we'll move back to.
Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Hello?
Yeah. Simply observing your breath. If you can read that paragraph first.
Sure. Simply observing your breath, even for a few seconds, stops your mind and allows the awareness of formless one life essence. Eckhart refers to in the quote to replace thought. Since all stress is just an expectation of some kind of external threat, another name for which is fear, all stress involves thought that is not rooted in present moment awareness.
Okay. So any thoughts on that? Are we thinking about not thinking? It's interesting.
All stress involves thought. So yeah, my head's obviously very busy at the moment. It's a lot of stressful things, and just jumped out at me that it's my own thinking that creates the stress and my own creation.
It always is. Yeah, it's not the situation, because it's what you
Yeah.
think about the situation. That's the problem.
Mm.
Situation is perceptual. So you interpret it through thought, and then emotion follows thought. And then you have an experience, and then you go, oh, well, this is really setting me off. The situation's triggering me, and well, someone else or something else is to blame. But that's not actually the case. That's the trigger. And then on some level, you're making a decision to think those thoughts and feel those emotions in response. And it seems to be all very justified, which is, of course, how the ego works. It seems to be justified that your upset always seems to be justified, which then means that you can't get rid of it. Then you know, it wants to keep you in that permanently interbulated, upset state. And its objective is to keep you away from the pure formless awareness of perfect love that you really are. That's all that's really going on. So it's recognizing what the game is, and then saying, okay, I need to be really aware of what the game is, so that, you know, when these thoughts start coming and arising, I've got a counter. And that counter is breath awareness. The simplest counter. There's others, but generally it's some kind of meditation, mindfulness practice that counters that, and takes you out of your mind and more into the present moment, and the awareness that goes with it. Present moment awareness is just formless awareness. So a lot of people say, well, you know, in the present, all my problems are happening, but the truth is they're not happening. That situation is mental. It's in your mind. And then you play it out over and over, and you're thinking about the past, and you're thinking about the future, of how this is going to play out, and what's going to happen, what you expect to happen, what you don't want to happen, what you do want to happen. And all of that is mental, emotional. It has nothing to do with the present moment, which is whatever you're aware of right here and now. And that points you, if you're able to do that, you focus on your body or your breath, that points you to the timeless awareness, formless awareness that really underlies every present moment. What allows you to be aware of the present moment? There's an awareness there. So in the end, it points you to the awareness of that awareness, which is timeless and universal and transcendent. So the present moment is not the content in the present moment. The present moment is fundamentally that awareness that underlies all awareness, that underlies all perception. And that's where it leads us. You can only access it through the present moment, because if you're thinking about past and future, thought is going on, and that is the cover that obscures that awareness, which is all that the ego is ever trying to do, is just obscure the pure formless awareness that you really are, with all kinds of thoughts and emotions that are not true. And it's our job as spiritual students and teachers to overcome that and recognize, you know, what it's doing, and be willing and able to let it go. Yeah, so you have these spiritual I'm noticing that I'm getting stressed, which is just fear. And so I can bring myself back with the practice. So that's the best thing you can do in that moment where if you're feeling stressed and, you know, out of flow, is go do a spiritual practice that puts you back in the flow. And then you have these, you know, various things in your toolbox. So breath awareness is one. There's others. You can focus on a mantra, as I say in the next paragraph. You can focus on a mandala, which is an image. So either visual image that you imagine, visualization, or you could focus on a candle flame, light a candle. That's a meditation technique. A word, a mandala, the breath, and body sensations is another way of doing it. That you become very present to body sensations, which is the core of the Vipassana technique. Well, breath awareness and body awareness are both included. So you come into the present moment. You're not thinking, and your mind will try and wander off. And then when it tries to wander off, you bring it back to whatever you focus on, the breath, the body, to bring you back into present moment awareness. And that, you know, that's why people find meditation challenging to start with, because the mind keeps wandering off and doing its normal thing. And then it's like, okay, no, but practice bringing it back into just that present moment awareness, just bringing it back to the breath, back to the body awareness or whatever the mantra is that you're using, to counter all of that monkey mind chatter, which is not helpful at all, because you just get caught up in it, and it really doesn't resolve anything. You're just in an interbulated, stressed, worried state in which actually your decision-making ability is compromised. You can't actually think properly in that state. So then the best thing you can do when you notice that you're stressed out is to do a spiritual practice to bring you back into your true awareness, back into the present moment, aware of your true self, true awareness arising again. And then you're in a position to make some kind of conscious choice that's not going to be harmful to you or others. So meditation keeps you sane, really, brings you back to awareness. And a lot of people go, oh, well, I can't do it very well, so I'm going to give up. And the whole point is you start, and the practice of meditating is the mind training, to start training your mind to come back to the present moment and to your true awareness in the face of whatever it is that you're dealing with. And so you keep practicing that, and you practice it in the meditation. Okay, so Sally, if you can read the next one, therefore it makes complete sense.
Therefore, it makes complete sense that stopping your thoughts by focusing your attention on something like your breath that happens only in the present moment. There are other things you can use, such as a word called a mantra in Sanskrit. Image. Oh, I see mandala. Oh, yeah, okay. In Sanskrit, and body sensations, which the basis of the Buddhist Vipassana style of meditation, will relieve stress and help you become aware again of the formless one life Eckhart speaks of, or as we call in, of course, art of letting go language, pure formless awareness of perfect love. I've got a mandala on the wall behind me. Never thought to use meditation. I wondered what it was for, actually.
Yeah, that's what it's really for. It's symbolic of usually unity. It's in a circle normally, and they've got elaborate designs. But the idea is to focus on it and use it as a meditation. And in the actual production of it, these Buddhist monks sit there and they spend days making these elaborate mandalas with colored sand and stuff. And that's a meditative practice. In the creation of the mandala, they're absolutely present to that activity. So they do it as a meditative practice. And then afterwards, you can look at the mandala and you can just kind of zone in on that. You focus, all of your attention, open-eyed meditation on that, and it takes you deeply into your present moment awareness. Personally, I prefer closing my eyes. I think that works for me better, but open-eyed meditation does, it's in very spiritual. The Vipassana works really well. I've tried mantra, so I started my meditation journey doing transcendental meditation, where they give you a mantra. So it's a word that you say, and then you just focus on that word, and that quiets the mind, and you sort of go into this state. And that, I have to say, it was pretty effective. It worked pretty well. Last year I did a Vipassana retreat, and they use breath work, focusing on breath flowing in and out of the nostrils, and focusing on body awareness, so scanning your body and just being aware of the sensations in your body as the mantra to bring your mind into present moment awareness and stop the monkey mind chatter. So I find that very, very effective. So I do like a Buddhist style, the Vipassana style, just adapted. I lie down. They'd say sit up, but I'm like, when you lie down, you have this amazing energy flow because your body's not restricted at all. The danger is you fall asleep or go into a deep meditation. But then I'm like, well, if I need to do that, then I need to do that. That's part of the meditation. So it becomes a rest sleep substitute as well as conscious awareness. Sometimes I'll do it for half an hour and I'll just kind of go into a deeper state like sleep, but it's very refreshing. It's like almost like a deep sleep state. And then I'll come out and do half an hour where I'm just aware of breath and moving into the body, and scan the body out all the way from the crown of the head to the tips of the toes and all the way back. And by the end of it, I'm just like vibrating with energy. It's quite extraordinary, what happens. So you're bringing in this life essence. There's no doubt you're bringing life into your body and into the cells. And this is why these yogis and mystics seem to, they don't age as quickly as other people. It's been recorded they, sometimes live hundreds of years in Tibet and places like this, because they're not aging at the same rate, because they're bringing in this, this supercharged life energy called prana or chi through these practices. So they're enormously powerful. And I think in the West, we're just starting to learn what these things can do for our minds and our life. We need them because we're stressed out, but then we don't have enough time because we've created these lifestyles where we're always busy doing stuff and never having the time to just time out. Whereas in traditional Eastern society, they would focus on this. This was their life. They'd spend their life in a very meditative way, and they worked out economic systems that supported that. So if you wanted to become a monk, a Buddhist monk, or in one of the other traditions, the Hindu tradition, you become a sannyasin, you were then supported by the community. So you could go into an ashram or monastery, and you could you could really do this, and then the monastery or the ashram would support you, and the community would give donations. So we don't quite have that system in the West, but nevertheless, the practices are there, and it's about finding a way to make the time for these. So
what occurs to me is, and we've all got different learning styles. Some people are more visual or audible or kinesthetic. So maybe the mantra works for those that are more audible, the mandala more for the visual people, and I'm kinesthetic, so I like the body sensations.
Yeah. So there's different styles, and it doesn't really matter which you use, because the point is not the form of it. The actual practice is not the point. It's where it takes you, the experience you have. So if you find mandala works fabulously for you, that takes you into a deep unity type consciousness, then great, use it. If a word works better for you, use it. If the kinesthetic works for you, Vipassana style, use it. Sometimes you can use all of them. Sometimes I use breath awareness, use body awareness, use a mantra. In a sense, we're using that all the time with the style of meditation that Yeshua is asking us to do with the Course in Miracles workbook, because these are very short words, short phrases, short sentence, and you meditate on it, and you use that as an object of focus in a meditative practice. So that is a mantra, although it has a meaning. Typically, in the TM technique, they give you a mantra, and it's usually a Sanskrit or other Eastern language word, and it doesn't mean anything to you because you don't understand what that word means. So they try and take the the interpretation out of it. Yet what Yeshua is doing is interesting, because he's using words that actually do have a meaning, and he's asking us to focus on the idea and using that idea as a starting point to then access a deeper awareness. So there's almost a combination of word, mantra, with almost imagery. It's like, okay, so those ideas now form some kind of idea concept in our minds. We focus on that, and that then takes us beyond the idea and beyond the words into a state of higher awareness. So it's a very interesting meditation technique that he's actually giving us in the workbook. If you hadn't realized that yet, it's almost a unique style of meditation, unique to A Course in Miracles, contemplating spiritual ideas. And he keeps it very short. That's why the lessons are always short. So you focus on that one short sentence, and you use that as a catalyst for an experience. And it can be very effective, like anything you focus on. If you focus your concentration on it, focuses the mind, brings you into the present moment, and this awareness of awareness, this pure formless awareness, starts to arise automatically. Okay, and then that moves us on to the video. So have a watch of that. There's some really interesting stuff in there. Eckhart talks about doing breath-led mini meditations, which is exactly what we're doing. That's why I give you the breath breaks, and using the breath in combination with the mind training lessons. So we're actually combining two of these methods. We're using breath work, and we're using sort of words, mantra, in the breath breaks. There's two methods integrated into the breath breaks to help you to focus, bring your mind into the present moment, detach it from all of the mind chatter. And if you keep doing that, you're stopping your mind. So Deepak Chopra talks about a 4-step formula, stopping your mind. So it's S standard stood for stop, stop mind, be aware. T is take a deep breath. Observe is the O. So observe your breath, observe your body sensations, observe your mind, and then proceed with love and kindness. So a simple formula that helps you, but that's essentially what we're doing whenever we do a breath break, is you stopping and just pausing and saying, okay, I'm taking some time out to connect with my true awareness, to let go of these thoughts. And if you keep doing that, this is why I recommend doing it every hour. You keep doing that, you're rewiring your default pattern. Instead of thinking all the time, you're rewiring it in those few minutes to this deeper awareness. And the more you do that, the more your mind can stay in that awareness. So I often find, if I've done a deep Vipassana meditation, I come out and it's just like I'm in this awareness. And then during my survey, you're acting a bit weirdly. I'm like, no, not really. I'm just aware, and it's like an altered state. You're just aware of everything in a different way. So it profoundly then affects your experience of life, your perception, your thoughts, your emotions. Everything is changed if you do a deep meditation. So Yeshua's saying, do the deep ones, do longer periods of 10 to 20 minutes in the mornings and evenings, twice a day, and then in between, top yourself up with just a minute or two, even if it's a few seconds, just to remember that idea. It's such a short idea, so it's not hard. Take a breath, take a conscious breath, just be aware. So Eckhart talks about that as well. The idea of just these short kind of breath breaks. Just take a conscious breath and let go of the monkey mind chatter and tune into your conscious awareness. So all that we're doing in the Arts of Letting Go program is making it conscious. Say, okay, so systematically, here's what you should do, and here's some tools to do it, which will hopefully help you to do more of it. And that then starts to rewire your mind into this deeper awareness, and so that you can ultimately maintain it all the time. That state of samadhi is not actually, it refers to that highest awareness you experience, Sally, where you're just in that pure formless awareness. But it also refers to the state of an awakened master when he or she is just present in life. So you could be doing anything, chopping wood, carrying water, as the Zen saying says, but you have that awareness. That's your fundamental awareness, which never leaves you. So you're rooted in that awareness, awareness of awareness, and that just takes over, and that allows you to still operate in the world in this very peaceful, flowing way, but without any of the normal chatter. So you might go, okay, well, now it's time to go chop some wood, or carry water, or drive somewhere in our case, or send an email, or do whatever. But my mind's not chattering about it. Just like, okay, this feels right, it's time to do it, so I do it. And so you're very present to whatever you do. So you can actually live in samadhi in the modern world. It's possible, using these techniques to train your mind. It takes some doing getting there, but these are the techniques that will get you there. Breath awareness and meditative practices are really foundational to experientially changing your mind. So it's not like faith-based. You don't go, oh, well, I just believe in the ideas and the concepts of the course. What he's asking us to do is to actually practice that getting into the states of awareness he's talking about, the pure formless awareness of perfect love, more and more using these practices. Okay, so any thoughts, comments, or questions on that? Okay, so I recommend watching the video to get Eckhart's take on breathing, and then Deepak has a short stop formula. Then Wayne Dyer talks for about half an hour on some pretty interesting stuff, actually. Divine love, talks about 3 kinds of love, ending in divine love without apparent opposite. He talks about synchronicity, flow, eternal time, the different dimensions of time. So you have horizontal time, the timeline, then you have eternal time, and the idea that where they intersect, horizontal time on the timeline and vertical time, where they intersect is then the present moment, or what Yeshua calls the holy instant. So let's just bring up this diagram. Where's that disappeared to? So open timeline. Timeline, I think it's here. Timeline. Sent into hell. Oh, where's my timeline gone? You know the diagram, I've showed it to you before, but it's probably new to Lynn. Let's see if I can find it. Timeline. Consciousness, spiritual escape where. That's the one I want. And then course content. Okay, so open. Cancel. Okay, now it should open. So there we go. The timeline of consciousness. So that sort of demonstrates it quite well. We're on this timeline from birth to death, and we have sort of linear time, various events happening, which seem to be causative of the present moment. So how did you arrive here in this moment? Well, there's a whole life history that got you here to this moment. So that's the sort of historic linear timeline. But simultaneously, right now, is this dimension of pure formless awareness, perfect love, or source, or knowledge, or eternity, or the now, whatever you want to call it. These are all just pointers to this, really, what is beyond words. That is here right now as well, and it's always there. And so what he's asking us to do with these spiritual practices is become more present to this awareness and less to the linear timeline. So you're not thinking about the past or the future, which is where the ego likes to keep you on this red timeline, thinking about past events, expecting future events, and really never present now. So you're ignoring the vertical dimension of time, which is only now, and that's just obscured by the timeline. And of course, the ego wants to keep us on the timeline because there's lots of drama on the timeline. The egoic thoughts and emotions, feeling like your separate self, are very much present. And in the end, it fulfills its objective for you, which is to kill you. So you die. So, that's the egoic timeline. The only way out is to go into the vertical dimension in every moment and connect with that. And this is what Yeshua calls the holy instant. Today's quote, the original version of today's quote, he says, in my awareness is the holy instant. What is it exactly? Let's just bring it up. So this holy instant is salvation come. This holy instant is salvation come. So right here, right now, in this moment, I can access that vertical dimension of time, what he calls the holy instant, and then salvation comes. In other words, in our alternative Heart of Letting Go language, my awakening is in this moment. I awaken to this awareness in this moment, and it's the only moment I ever can awaken to it, because there's only ever the present moment. If I'm in past or future consciousness, then I'm not awake. I'm asleep. I'm lost in my mind. So my awakening is only ever in this moment, and I can only ever transform in this moment. I can only experience happiness, love, peace, joy. I can only ever do anything in the present moment, including awaken in this moment. So this is the holy instant, just made very practical, very, very real for us. In this moment, right here, right now, I have access to everything, to all awakening, all enlightenment. It's there, right now for me. And if I'm not experiencing, that means I've blocked myself. I've blocked this awareness, and my job then becomes to let go of the block to the awareness of this loving presence and find it again. And that's what we do spiritual practice for, to remove these blocks. So we come more and more into this present moment awareness. In that moment, when we're fully present and aware, we're awake. There's no past or future. We're just present to our true awareness. Okay, so let's go back to timeline. Any thoughts on the timeline of consciousness? Questions, comments? Does it make sense? Linear time, vertical time, how they intersect. And then at each moment, I
was just thinking the red dots, the red arrows, if we can eliminate as many of those as possible, you kind of set yourself free, can't you? That's my intention.
So those red arrows are the ego's alternate interpretation of a situation. So it's always got its own interpretation. And if you listen to that, then the red arrow just roots you onto the timeline. And then you feel trapped in your story of the separate self and the timeline that you seem to be trapped on. There seems to be no escape. But notice the red arrow has no source. It's just like kind of just disconnects, coming from nowhere, really. So it's not true and it's not real. And if you will look at it, you go, this is just false thoughts and emotion. None of these interpretations of whatever seems to be happening have any source, and so they're ultimately not true. The only thing that is true is this awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love, this domain. And you can access that in every moment by simply letting go of these red arrows. So the red arrows are the ego psychological and emotional attachment to events, circumstances, people, places, and so on in your life. So those attachments are what keep you from this awareness, which is why letting go is so important. Because when you let go of these arrows, they disappear. Boom. Now all you have is that connection. There's no other voice. So that's that's why we're practicing forgiveness or letting go, because it helps you to undo these arrows and clears the way for you to hear these this clear voice of the Holy Spirit, which is the intermediary between you and your seemingly separated state, living your human life, and this awareness, which is still in your mind, but you've disconnected from it. So now you need this voice that reminds you. And enlightenment is simply when you've removed all the arrows, you still seem to be on your timeline, but all the arrows are gone. So now you're just tapping in, you're just listening to the guidance. And then you recognize that actually is you. In the end, the Holy Spirit's job is to remind you that this really is you, and there's no separation. Your awareness is this awareness. You are that awareness. There's nothing separate, nothing different at all. And then you're fully enlightened. There are none of these blocks, obstacles, or filters, they call them in Buddhism, then exist anymore. You've let go of all of it. So can you see why, from this perspective, letting go is so critical? Because it removes the block and reconnects you with your source in every moment. And the ultimate state of samadhi is to live in the sameness of mind. So you have the same mind, the same perception, nothing's really changing, because you're just rooted in this awareness. There's no other awareness, and it's the same awareness always. And these fetters, these obstacles, these blocks are no longer there. Those are the only things that block the awareness of love's presence, as Yeshua calls it in the introduction to the course. Your only job is to remove the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. Okay, so any other thoughts on the diagram, questions, comments?
What I find a little bit confusing in my own experience is that I know with Sally, I've done loads of different clearings on different subjects and specific incidents that have happened in my life, and yet just when you think it's gone or you've dealt with it and you've made your peace with it and let it all go, it comes up from a whole new angle.
Yeah, that's because the ego, doesn't give up easily. So this, this system that is all the red, the red timeline and the events on the timeline, and then your interpretation of the events, which is your ego psychological and emotional attachment. That's all deep-seated, very deep-seated. You've been thinking those thoughts, believing that story for a long time, not just this lifetime. And so it comes up again and again as the alternative. But each time it does, if you can genuinely let it go, then you're free of it. And if it tries again, well, all you can do is let it go and keep doing that until there really is nothing left, until all of this is gone. All of those arrows are gone. So you still seem to be on the timeline, but your mind really isn't rooted on the timeline at all. You really transcend it. And this is the state of mind that really truly enlightened people operate in. They just transcend the battleground, as Yeshua calls it, of time and space, and they're rooted in this awareness. That doesn't mean they can't operate in the world. They can, but it's going to be a different kind of operation. It's not egoic, and often they have very quiet, simple lives, because they realize that all of this is just unnecessary chaos, complexity, movement, and really all of it's designed to do is move them away from their true awareness, which they have. So they recognize what's truly important, and they choose to stay there in that awareness for long periods of time. So I hope that helps a little bit. Sort of went off on a bit of a tangent there, but hopefully that'll help. Just realize that it's all a process. If it comes up again, it means that there's still the ego there, and you still have some more work to do to let it go. And that's why you're still here. We're still here as long as we have these psychological and emotional attachments to make up the ego. We remain as human. So our job then is to clear those, ideally in this lifetime, so that we're free of them and we can just return home to this true awareness.
Yeah.
Okay, so any other thoughts on the timeline? Otherwise, let's move on to today's lesson, shall we? So let's bring it up in Word format. So, and we've got a new section, new insert to read. There's 5 paragraphs of that. So let's have a read of this in answer to the question, what is the world? So what is the world? Lynn, if you can kick that off for us. The world is false perception.
The world is false perception. It is born of error, and it has not left its source. It will remain no longer than the thought that gave it birth is cherished. When the thought of separation has been changed to one of true forgiveness, will the world be seen in quite another light, and one which leads to truth, where all the world must disappear and all its errors vanish. Now its source is gone and its effects are gone as well.
Okay, and then just the alternative.
The world is false perception. It is born of error.
Nothing much has changed. I think it's really changed is the and perception. Yeah. So if you want to read that again.
All right. The world is false perception. It is born of error. It has not left its source. It will remain no longer than the thought that gave it birth is cherished. When the thought of separation has been changed to one of true letting go, the world will be seen in quite another awareness, one which leads to truth, where all the world disappears and all its errors vanished. Now its source is gone, and so its effects are gone as well.
Okay. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's just the obvious. It's just, yeah, when you let it go, it stops hurting. No, it's not true. No, it's all just stories we've made up to punish ourselves with.
Yeah. That's a good insight. You recall the diagram, which I keep referring to. It's all just a system of punishment. To punish yourself for this imagined sin of destroying God, love or oneness. So we go there. We think we've really separated. We think we've pulled off the impossible. We've really destroyed this. And now we have this tremendous guilt for this sin of destroying God or love or oneness, pure formless awareness, whatever you want to call it. And that guilt demands punishment. And so now we have fear of punishment, false expectation of punishment appearing real. And we create these situations that punish us and that tell us that, yes, you're guilty and you deserve to be punished, that you're a victim of this cruel world, that the limitation and the lack and the loneliness and the suffering are all real. And this is apparently your just punishment for this crime of separating from perfect love.
Mm-hmm.
But we can let it go. We'll be seeing quite another light, quite another awareness. So when the thought of separation be changed to one of truly letting go. So this is the reinterpretation. So the thought of separation gets projected out, and you see it in all of this red stuff, the guilt, the sin, the fear, the attack. It's behind every form. It's behind the entire physical universe, all the forms of life that seem to populate it. And now that all seems to be very real. And that the Holy Spirit, which is the remembrance of perfect oneness, simply reinterprets it. Reinterprets the ego's dream and reinterprets it as remembrance of perfect oneness. So you simply see that all of these situations, events, circumstances, people, and whatever else, is a covering. It's a mask over your true awareness. And if you believe it, then you hold up the mask, but you can see it for what it is and just choose to let it go and say, this is all false, because it comes from one tiny mad idea that's false, which is the idea of separation. You can actually separate from your source. You see how it all fits together, and then it gives us these teachings, and it just really expresses the essence of the teaching. Okay.
It's quite stunning, isn't it, really? When you think about if you've got the guilt, you'll just go through life all the time looking for someone to punish ourselves or to play that role. And if it's not one person, then we go on to another person.
Yeah.
It's just so crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. And yet this is how, if you observe the ego, people who've lived egoic lives, this is what happens all the time. But in the end, you've got to take responsibility and say, well, this is me. I'm doing this. I keep doing this. And it's a thought system that's the problem. Yeshua's getting us to look at the whole thought system and say it's just false thought, just erroneous thought you got caught up in. So you can get uncaught up. You can let it go. You can free yourself. And that's awakening. That's what we're here to do. In the present moment is the only time you can do it. You reinterpret what seems to be happening, all the thoughts and emotions that are arising, and you reinterpret those and say, right now, I am in this awareness, and I can stay rooted in that awareness, no matter what the temptation is to depart from. The complexity is just the ego's complexity. And our job is just to keep it really simple and say, well, the Holy Spirit's only answer is that none of this is true and none of this is real. Okay, so any other thoughts on number one? Ultimately, why all the world disappears, the world will simply disappear for you. If you reinterpret it consistently, you don't believe it anymore, the world will disappear and none of this will exist anymore, because the belief behind it that's driving it is no longer there in your mind. So how can its effects then be there? It's not going to happen overnight. While you're still in a body, you'll still perceive it as being there. But ultimately, we're not bodies, and you will let go of the body, lay the body aside. And when that happens, do you still have the belief in separation going on, or is that belief done? Have you recognized it for what it is? Totally false. And if you recognize it for what it is, it's totally false, then you're free. No more need for it. Okay, so any other thoughts on number two?
It's wanting to be free, isn't it, as well? As much as you might logically understand it, then there can be the fear of letting it all go, and it can be a fear of what will happen if I let it go. But then I was listening to something about near-death experiences the other day, and it was very like the experience on Thursday and Friday that I had. There was a lot of similarities, and once you've had that, then you haven't got the fear. A lot of people say when they've had the near-death experiences, they've got no fear of it anymore because they've experienced it. It's beautiful and it's just love. But before you go there, there's a fear of the unknown, isn't there? A fear of what it might be. So yeah, it's simple in some ways and complicated in others, isn't it? Because if we've been a certain way for decades, we don't necessarily want to let it go, maybe. But yeah, I do. I definitely do.
Well, the only thing that makes it seemingly complicated is your resistance to the truth. That there's this deep-seated resistance to this other thought system that keeps you bound up in this world. But if you choose conscious choice, you say, I want to let it go, I want to be free, and I recognize this is my only way, then the ego is done for. If you really consciously choose that, knowing what you're choosing, and with a teaching like this, radical forgiveness or letting go that you're being taught, ego is going to depart. Can't sustain against this kind of truth. So just a conscious choice, that's the simplicity of it. Yes, I choose to awaken. I choose salvation or awakening as my only purpose in this world. That's the huge commitment. Totally undoes all the other purposes you're pursuing. But if you pursue that, it's going to take you out of the world. Okay, so any other thoughts on number one? Can we move on to number two? The world was made as an attack on God. Let's ask Corinne if she can read. If you can read the second paragraph for us, I think just read the alternative. It says only God has changed really to pure formless awareness of perfect love.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know why my phone's just doing something funny. It's putting me in safe driving mode. I'm not sure why, and I can't get out of it.
Okay. Can you not read that?
Let me just check one more thing. See, there we go. I think it's coming now. No, sorry, it's gone into safe driving mode. Maybe because my battery's so low. It's not letting me go into the. It's not letting me to go into the screen. Sorry, Jonah.
Okay, never mind. We'll read. Someone else will read. So, whose turn is it? Lynn or Sally?
Mine, I think. I'll read it.
Yeah.
The world was made as an attack on pure formless awareness of perfect love. It symbolizes fear. And what is fear except love's absence? So the world was meant to be a place where pure formless awareness of love, perfect love, could not enter, and where its extension could be apart from it. It's interesting. It's funny, isn't it, how you hear it differently when you read it out loud. Here was perception born, for knowledge could not cause such insane thoughts. But eyes deceive and ears hear falsely. Now mistakes become quite possible, for certainty has gone. Really felt that.
So what did you feel?
It's like the truth was hitting me, in real time. So fear is love's absence. That's quite amazing, really, isn't it? Yeah.
It has no positive quality of its own. I think this is really what we've got to understand. Darkness or fear, whatever you call its ego, it has no reality of its own. It's merely the absence of love. So it masquerades as having a reality. It seems to be quite active in the world and able to do all kinds of stuff. But really, it's just the lack of light. I mean, as soon as you bring the light or true awareness, then darkness must disappear, because the light has it has a positive quality. It is real, it has substance, whereas the darkness doesn't. And yet, in our inverted, upside down, insane world, we've taken the darkness, which is just a lack of love, and we've used that to project out and now manifest an entire world. It's based on that lack of substance. So that's the underpinning of the illusion. It's Maya, as they call it in the East, illusion, false. It's based on a total lack of substance, a total lack of reality, based on what is not there rather than what is there.
So the world was meant to be a place where there was no love. The love could not enter. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty intense, actually. You go, oh my God, now I'm starting to see why the world is such a mess, why this place doesn't work. Well, of course, what would you expect if the intention was to keep love, which is the only reality, out of this place, where we could seem to be apart from love, our source? Well, what would you expect from a world with that intent, but this kind of a world? And now you start to connect the dots and say, this all makes sense. Finally, I'm starting to realize the truth. This world wasn't made by God or pure formless awareness of perfect love. It's not true. Sneezed on the truth of that. It's not true, ultimately.
And that's why people are so keen to have special relationships, because they're searching for the love that doesn't exist there, and it can't get in. And so it's that's quite incredible, really.
It's a substitute. Everything's a substitute for the love that we've denied. So this is a substitute reality. And we're trying to find the love that we've denied, but we don't really want to find it. It's bizarre, but that's what we do. Seek and do not find is the ego's mantra. So you're going to look and look and look. No, I really want love, but actually you don't want to find the divine love. that Wayne Dyer was talking about. You know, pure, unconditional, never changing, never wavering. You don't really want to find that, because that's the end of you if you find it. So then the ego looks for love in other places. It says, well, you'll find it in another person, in another body. You'll find it in an activity. You'll find it in a substance, food or drink or alcohol or drugs, or, you know, whatever. You'll find it somewhere other than where it is, which is in your mind. And so we seek and seek and seek and never find. And we wonder why we're frustrated and disappointed and sad, because we set ourselves on a pointless quest, on a futile quest to try and find something where it doesn't exist. You're never going to find it in the world. It wasn't meant to be found in the world. The world was meant to obscure it. That's what's called the veil of illusion. It's meant to obscure and cover over the pure formless awareness of perfect love. When I had my mystic experience last year, I just saw that so clearly. The Holy Spirit was like, yeah, this is what you've done. The entire world is a projection of all the crap in your mind. Excuse my, but that was the word that came to me. And it's just designed to justify the thoughts and the emotions that cover over pure formless awareness. So we've invented an entire reality, apparently external world, to justify the thoughts and emotions that cover over our true awareness and keep us in a false sense of a separate self. I mean, that's just, when you get that, it's just like, oh my God, that's suddenly everything makes sense here. And you really start to see through the illusions, through the lies that maybe you believed your whole life, and see the truth of the matter. So what he's saying is that what could you expect from this this illusion that you've spun? This world that was made as an attack on God. You've attacked love. You know, go back to the metaphysics of this. In order to have a separate self, you must deny the one self. You must deny oneness in order to think you're separate. So now you think you've attacked God or oneness, and you've destroyed it. And that's the foundation for the ego's sense of a separate self, an individual self. And the world came out of that process of denial of God. So it came out of the process of attacking God, which leads to all this guilt and sin, and then the terrible fear of punishment. And now the ego says, this is awful, you're going to be punished, let's run away. Let's run away from God and go somewhere where he can't find us, and then invents this alternate reality we call the physical universe. And that's, you know, a very short explanation, but that's essentially what happened. Now we've run away to this place. We think we're safe from God. We've shut God out, but we're anything but safe. In fact, we're very vulnerable here. We seem to be living a helpless, enervated little life, subject to limitation, lack, loneliness, suffering, sickness, and death at all. And yet the ego is telling you that this is safety and you need to stay here and stay as far away from God, love, oneness as you possibly can, which is the lie. And so Yeshua's just saying, look, see it for what it is. See the world for what it is. Let's not have any illusions about it. Let's not be deceived anymore by this illusion of the world, and recognize it for what it is. And then you'll be ready to let it go. You really see, that it has no ultimate point or purpose. Okay, so the mechanisms of illusion have been born instead. Do you want to read that, Lynn?
Thinking very loudly, Lynn.
I'm just sitting here thinking, how do I just stop believing this absolute crap in my head? Right, the mechanisms of illusion have been born instead, and now they go to find what has been given them to seek. Their aim is to fulfill the purpose which the world was made to witness and make real. They see in its illusions but a solid base where truth exists, upheld apart from lies. Yet everything that they report is but illusion, which is kept apart from the truth. I keep hearing the same phrases and I hear them and I'm like, why do I still believe this shit about myself? It's really annoying.
Well, it's a deep-seated self-concept. See, this is the problem. That's how you define yourself. And that separate self wants to survive in your mind. And this is the struggle we all have. To let go, you have to let go of the separate self. So Lin doesn't exist in pure formless awareness of perfect love. And on a level, you have to admit that terrifies you.
Yeah, because it's confusing, yeah.
Well, what you think of as you ceases to exist. The ego is terrified of that. No more separate self, no Lin, no body, no world. Oh my God, no, that's, we can't go that far. The spirituality stuff's going too far then.
Mm-hmm.
We need to keep it within the domain of the ego. You have a little bit of ego can tolerate a little bit of mindfulness, and it's like this will help you live a better life. That's all okay to a point. But if it starts going too far and you start going, okay, but actually it's the end of the separate self, it's the end of me as a separate self, it's the end of the world. Because, oh no, too much. And so then its defense is get you to focus on all of this crap, as you call it, and make it real in your mind, and think about it and feel the emotions and the drama of it, to keep your mind enslaved, keep your mind as far away as possible from this, and keep it spinning around in this, trying to figure it out, and you never are going to figure it out. How can you figure out what's not real? And it's a dream. So again, in today's little teaching, he's telling us just straight as it is. He's saying that this is what you've done, invented this world. You've got mechanisms of illusion. Your perception isn't true. Nothing in perception is true. Here was perception born. Knowledge couldn't cause such insane thoughts. So knowledge is this domain.
Mm-hmm.
Perception is anything that happens in this domain. So we caught up in perception.
Yep.
Mechanisms of illusion have been born instead in our minds, and now they try to find what has been given them to seek. So they go into the world, and we try and find these illusions, and
We do.
we find them because that's what we want to find. You want to find illusions, you'll find them. That was what the world was made for, to give you the opportunity to find illusion upon illusion, whatever else you attach to, substances, achievements, recognition in the world, families, friends, good relationships in the world, sickness, just whatever. Everything that happens here was designed to give you a good reason not to honor your true awareness, your pure formless awareness. And that's the only aim in the world. So your senses are, we're born into this. We're born into the matrix with our senses designed. Our minds are wired up, and our senses are wired up to get us to experience this. Try and induce us to experience this. So they perceive in its illusions a solid foundation where truth upheld apart from lies exists. That everything they report is merely illusion, is kept apart from truth. Wow. And what he's saying is, pretty mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm.
So everything you've ever thought in this world is merely illusion. Everything you've ever perceived, your entire life, which is made up of perceptions in this world, a series of events with your perception always being there, is illusion. And then every now and then we get a little glimpse of a reality beyond that. We call that a spiritual experience. But usually it gets covered over very quickly and the ego continues. So it takes great, effort and persistence. Generally speaking, I'm not saying you can't wake up instantly, but for most of us, it's like, okay, just daily, because you're in it. Perception is what you're doing all the time. You have these senses, you have this body, so other people wandering around, there's all kinds of stuff happening in the world, and you have this perception thing going on. And that seems to be your life. And yet everything about that life is merely illusion. So now how do you actually live in a world like that? Consciously. And this is the mind training. That's why we do the mind training, to help us temporarily. Ultimately, we're not trying to make this world a better place. We're not trying to fit ourselves into the world and find happiness here. We're recognizing that you're never going to do that, and that actually the only way out is to awaken. But we recognize that that's going to take some time. So it's a process. It's not just going to happen overnight. But I mean, I can't tell you the relief I felt when it was like, finally, I don't actually have to figure this out and try and justify this world. So what a relief that is. Okay, I can just discard it and let it all go as the illusion that it is, and not have to try and make sense of what doesn't make sense. That is a great relief. Okay, so any thoughts on that, Lynn? Anything strike you in that paragraph? Any questions?
All of it's striking me.
Good. Just to another reminder, which will help you ultimately let go of whatever the drama. Okay, I understand what it's all for, and I can't be fooled by it anymore. And if it starts to try, you remind yourself, then you practice again, practice the lesson again, come back to this teaching. Okay, remember what's going on here. Because the ego loves OneDrive exception. Don't know quite what happened there. OneDrive application error. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, just dropped me out of whatever. Let's get back in there quickly. Do we have Word open? No, I think it's just crashed words for whatever reason. Let's see if we can go back there. Okay, hopefully it doesn't crash again. We'll just take that out of save mode. Oh, actually, sorry, I was wrong one. Lesson 241 is what we want. Okay, so number 4. I think let's move on to number 4, shall we? Sally, if you can read that, read the original. It's quite a bit of translation, and then the translation.
A site was made to lead away from truth. It can be redirected. Sounds become the call for God. and all perception can be given a new purpose by the one whom God appointed Saviour to the world. Follow his light and see the world as he beholds it. Hear his voice alone in all that speaks to you, and let him give you peace and certainty, which you have thrown away, but heaven has preserved for you in him. Alternatively, as sight was made to lead away from truth, it can be redirected. Sounds become the call for pure formless awareness of perfect love, and all perception can be given a new purpose by the presence that pure formless awareness of perfect love appointed as awakener to the world. Follow its guidance and perceive the world as it perceives it. Hear its voice alone in all that speaks to you, and let it give you peace and certainty, which you have thrown away, but the state of pure formless awareness has preserved for you in it.
Okay, any thoughts on that?
Thank God it can be redirected.
Literally, yeah.
Literally.
So do you see the genius of this course? He's saying, okay, so you've got perception going on. This is all invention of the ego. But now with the help of the Holy Spirit, which is a remembrance of love, you can change your mind about these perceptions. Not much you can do about the seeming fact that you're going to perceive things in this world. That's the world we seem to have enslaved ourselves into. So you're going to have perception going on, but how you interpret those perceptions becomes the key. So you can now interpret the perceptions differently. So you have choice as to how you interpret your perceptions. So you can give it a new purpose.
And it is so peaceful, isn't it? And you get that real certainty when you're in that energy. It's really uncomfortable when you're in that other place.
Yeah, it feels, because you're nowhere. You're in nowhere land. You're in a place that doesn't really exist, of thought and emotion that has no foundation, no reality. This isn't your home. You're in an alien world, and it's very confusing. There's no certainty there. There's no true guidance. You're just lost in this mist of illusory thoughts and emotions, and that's where we've been for a long, long time. We incarnate. You only come back here because you're still confused. If you truly knew who you were, you wouldn't come back to a dream world. So the job is to make it all clear. See through the mists, cut through all the ego nonsense, and just see clearly. And what I love about these teachings, he's so direct. It's like a knife just cutting through it, isn't it? It's like, and it just parts, and he's giving you the opportunity to just, okay, I see the truth, in its absolute direct, undressed up form. It's just, direct teaching that can be very scary for the ego, no doubt. So, some people just run a mile this kind of teaching. But for those who, if you really want to wake up, then this is the quickest way. You're just getting the truth direct from a master, and he's not sparing anything. He's not, he's telling you exactly as it is, which is exactly what you need to hear in order to awaken. Okay, any other thoughts on that?
I was just thinking that I was in a really sure place yesterday afternoon. Then I moved into a place of, something doesn't feel right. And then, I was kind of going in and out of it. But it's such a relief when you get home again, isn't it? But it's strange. I couldn't quite identify what I was thinking or how I'd caused it to go off track. But then I mustn't think like that. You must just get back on track, mustn't you? But I did, meditations and clearings and and it was still like, oh, really uncomfortable.
Mm.
Okay, it passed.
Mm. Oh, this is how it goes with it, because the ego is so deep-seated, and it seems to be you, and it's got a hold in your mind. You can have a deep mystic experience like you had, then you come back, and the ego is not quite done, is it? It's like, okay, well, it's still gonna come back in moments when you're not in that awareness, and it's going to arise, and it's going to tempt you to believe in it. And this is the hero's journey, ongoing challenge, temptation, struggles, and each time you face something like that, you let it go, you choose the truth. It's another step in your awakening. That's how it works. So the world is, the only purpose of the world is made by the ego to enslave you, but the only purpose of the world that's now reinterpreted by the Holy Spirit is to use it to awaken. As he says, sounds become the call for pure formless awareness of perfect love. Sight can be redirected. All perception can be given a new purpose. By this presence, the remembrance of pure formless awareness of perfect love, or the Holy Spirit, that will awaken you, because you remember that the Holy Spirit is the remembrance of this love that hasn't left you. And this then guides your perceptions. So you're guided in your interpretations of everything. Hear its voice alone in all that speaks to you. Very simple instruction, but to do that, the extent of the mind training you need to hear its voice alone in a world dedicated to illusion. That this is why we've got to train and practice. This is the hardest thing you'll ever do, because you're going completely against the ego's program, completely against worldly ideas and thought and beliefs. And so most people believe these things. They're enslaved in them. They go, no, you're just odd, you're weird, what are you doing? You can't do that. You can't, completely let go of the ego. That's not the done thing here. You have to believe in these ideas, and you have to play the game. Don't think you're going to awaken. And so there's a very strong cultural conditioning, cultural kind of pull you down into this unenlightened, unawake state of making the world real, believing it's real, believing you really are a separate self. And then the people who are awakening or awakened are seen as crazy, mad, crackpots, insane. What are you doing? Because to the ego, that is insane. Each thought system thinks the other one is insane, and never the twain shall meet. But how you'll know that what's true is the peace that you feel, peace and certainty. If you're really feeling that deep peace and certainty, then you know. So that's the hallmark of truth, is peace. That all that interbulation is gone, and you can just rest in the peace of God that surpasses all understanding, as it was called in the Bible. Okay, so any other thoughts, questions on number 4? I think it's is it Lynn?
Let us not rest content until the world has joined our changed perception. Let us not be satisfied until forgiveness has been made complete. And let us not attempt to change our function. We must save the world, for we who made it must behold it through the eyes of Christ.
Let's just check. Eyes of your true self, right? Sorry, I've cut something out. And what was made? It's just tie. Okay, so there we go. Let's just fix that. So read the alternative.
Let us not rest content until the world has joined our changed perception. Let us not be satisfied until everyone has fully let go of their belief in separation. And let us not attempt to change our function. We must free the world, for we who made it must behold it through the eyes of your true self, so that what was made to die can be restored to everlasting life.
Any thoughts on that?
Let us not be satisfied until everyone has, because they're all, we're all one. All right.
What he's saying is, as long as you're here, even if you attain this enlightened state, Yeshua attained that, but he dedicated his life to helping others to wake up. He didn't just sit around and say, okay, well, I'm just going to stay in this state myself. He went on this mission to teach this to the world. So this is the bodhisattva idea in Buddhism. It's a person who's attained enlightenment, and then they come into the world to help others to awaken.
But aren't all the others just reflections of us?
Yeah, they are. So in other words, Yeshua is really awakening himself. His job isn't done until everyone's awakened. This is why he's still teaching. So he's attained it, but that at-one-ment is not complete until every mind has awoken. And so his teaching must continue for all time until every mind has awakened and time is over. So that's, in time, that's going to take a long, long time. But in eternity, it's already happened. He realizes the dream's already over. But there are minds that don't believe that are still very much attached to their dream. And so his mission then becomes to free them. And that's his own at-one-ment. So he's completing his own at-one-ment process from beyond the veil. He's not a body and time anymore, but the at-one-ment is still necessary until every single mind has atoned and this entire universe has ceased to exist. The physical universe simply disappears. You might say, well, that's going to take forever. Well, we've got forever. It's going to take as long as, but for me, the question, the only question really is, how long is it going to take for you? Because you can be free anytime you want to. You don't have to wait for everyone else to wake up. You simply become incorporeal and you join the at-one-ment from another realm, and you would then become part of the Christ mind that's there to awaken others. And you would become what's teaching this course, because there would be no difference between you and this presence of love that's teaching this. So yeah, that's everyone's destiny. Any other thoughts on that? Okay, so maybe just I'll ask Sally to give a little summary of this whole thing. What's he saying in this passage? 5 paragraphs, essentially.
Well, that was sneaky. That it's all an illusion, and we need to let the illusion go and allow ourselves to return to pure formless awareness of perfect love.
Yeah.
And know that we have already awakened, and it's just our realization that we are awake now.
Don't be fooled by perception. Saying perception was made, the world was made, perception was made to confuse you. So don't be fooled by it, because it's a device for maintaining the belief in separation. You have to look beyond perception, go into your mind, which is why all these spiritual techniques take you out of perceptual reality. Ultimately, it's about withdrawing the senses, even breath awareness. Okay, so use breath awareness as a tool to go within and withdraw the senses. Typically, you close your eyes. Now, you can do open-eyed meditation, but I prefer closed-eyed because you go within and you just shut out the external world of perception for that time. Then you come back to it, you open your eyes and you're like, but I feel restored. There's something about my mind that's not changed because I feel more connected to my true awareness. And then you feel that peace and that certainty again. So if you're feeling inturbulated and disturbed, then the answer is go within, do a meditation, reconnect with this presence, and then you come back and you can come back into perception, but what underlies perception now is this awareness. And you have to keep reconnecting with this awareness because it's easy to lose it in this world. The world was designed to make you lose it. That, in fact, is why we sleep. Because after 15, 16 hours in a dream world, we then have to go and restore our minds to truth. And so we need that 2 hours of deep sleep where the mind just goes blank. And that's very restorative because we're going back into our pure formless awareness. But the sneaky trick of the ego is that it keeps us asleep. So we're not conscious of what's actually happening. Meditation is the process of being conscious of it. Okay, I'm actually consciously aware now of what's happening. And so I'm aware of this awareness when I'm in it. I'm not unconscious. I'm actually consciously aware of this higher awareness. And that's the samadhi state. That is the ultimate state of enlightenment. So you can kind of see, hopefully, how it all ties up. We've got all these different techniques, and the reason why we do these sessions is to try and help you connect the dots and say, okay, this is how it all fits together. It's actually really simple. It's just these different tools and techniques to help you to undo your belief in illusions and restore your mind to where it's truly at home. Okay, so anything else about, we'll do this again another 9 times, so there's plenty of time to look at this again. I think given the time, 25 past, shall we crack on with the meditation?
Yeah.
Okay, so just making yourself comfortable, sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, your back straight, cup your hands in your lap. Close your eyes and start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And clench the sphincter muscle. It's the muscle used to contract the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. Lock the energy in, draw it up the spine into your heart center. You can put one hand on your heart just to connect in with your heart space. Feel the energy in your heart. Draw it up into the crown of your head. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. Now scan your mind and just notice any thoughts, any emotions, any sensations that are going on for you. And remind yourself that this holy instant is salvation come, or my awakening is in this moment, if you want to translate that. And then just exhale and blow it all away. Just exhaling it out. The breeze of your breath. And just resting in deeper awareness, pure formless awareness, perfect love. And to help you enter that awareness deeply, just observe your breath. So focus on the breath. Just breathing in and out through the nose. Any thoughts come in, just return your attention to the breath. particularly the sensations in your nostrils, and the area just below your nose, between your nose and your upper lip. Notice any subtle touch of the breath on that area and in the nose. This just brings your mind completely into the present moment. And there's nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax. Breathe, relax, and be still. Just keep watching the breath. So you listen to these words from today's lesson. What joy there is today. There's a time of special celebration. For today holds out the moment to the limited world where its release is set. The day has come when sorrows pass away and pain is gone. Glory of awakening dawns today upon a world set free. This is the time of hope for countless millions. They will be united now as you release them all. And you will also release me from your misperceptions today. So breathe in again. And if there's any misperception going on in your mind about anyone, any judgmental thoughts, condemnation, criticism, attack thoughts, maybe projecting that onto yourself and blaming yourself for what you've done or haven't done. Just observe all of those thoughts and emotions, breathe into them. Breathing in the true awareness of perfect love. So there's nowhere else to go and there's nothing else to do. Just sink into this experience, glorious experience, being totally rooted in the present moment. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. Nothing else to think about. Just stay rooted in this presence. So we have released one another now, says Yeshua. So we come at last to you again, addressing your source, fundamental presence in your mind. My source, your extension who never left, returns to its home in the state of pure formless awareness. How glad I am to have my sanity restored to me and to remember that we are all one. So right now you can return home to the state of pure formless awareness. So allow yourself to enter into the state fully, completely, and wholly. Just observe the breath, breathing in and breathing out through the nose. I help your mind just stay very present and you just surrender into the present moment. The next few minutes of deep contemplative silence. And any thoughts come in, seemingly disturb your peace, just observe them, thoughts, emotions, sensations. From this place of true awareness. They're just insignificant little clouds drifting by. No power to obscure the pure blue sky, which is your true awareness of the light of perfect love, your source, which shines through it. So just allow that light to shine through into your mind, the light of your true awareness without any impediment. There are no blocks or bars. It's just pure formless awareness, perfect love, the state of pure formless awareness. So exhale out, blow the clouds away, the breeze of your breath to the nothingness they really are. And rest in perfect certainty. In the state of pure formless awareness, it's nothing to do, nowhere to go, just be in the state, true awareness, who you really are. The next couple of minutes of deep silence. And so just gently coming back to an awareness of the body and the breath, senses and the world. I'm just going to scan your body from the crown of your head to the tips of your toes. Just be aware as you come back of the head, back of your head, your face, your jaw, flexing your jaw. Any sensations on the skin, be aware of those. Be aware of the breath flowing into and out of the nostrils. Be aware of your ears and back of your neck. And your awareness down into your upper arms, your triceps and your biceps, down through your elbows, to your forearms, your wrists, your hands, your fingers. And the weight of your arms hang limply and heavily off your body. So you're coming back into body awareness, but with this deeper awareness underlying all of your perceptions. So this is running your awareness, true awareness through the body, connecting with the very life essence in the body, not getting caught up in the form of it. So run your awareness all the way back up from tips of your fingers, through your hands, wrists, forearms, elbows, triceps, biceps, into your neck and shoulders. And run the awareness down into the upper back, into your chest. Feel energy in your chest and your heart center. Breathe into that. Just by being fully present to all of this, you bring your mind back into the world, into sense perceptions, but stay rooted in your true awareness. Notice the energy in your stomach, in your lower back, in your groin. It feels soft and limp and heavy and warm. And the pressure of your buttocks on the chair, wherever you're sitting. The weight of your body pressing down gently. Feel the energy in your thighs, your upper thighs, back of your thighs, run down through your knees, back of your knees, through your shins, your calves, your ankles, down into your feet and your toes. And now run it all the way back up from the tips of your toes, through your feet and your ankles, up through your shins and your calves, in one deep breath. Through your upper thighs, your groin, buttocks, into your lower stomach, your lower back, heart center, your chest. One deep full inhale as you do this. Feel the energy in your arms, going down from your shoulders to the tips of your fingers and all the way back up. So you breathe in again, and then running up to the crown of your head, and just rest here for a few moments in the gap between breaths. Take another sip of air, and if you like, just stay in this awareness for a few seconds, just being aware of the subtle life essence that underlies all form, that underlies the body. This is the life essence we speak of. This is your true awareness. And you can stay connected to this. This awareness It's your foundation, the ground of your being that goes with you wherever you go. This is why God is with you wherever you go, because this awareness cannot leave you. So exhale. Feel the energy raised up into the crown of your head, dropping down. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just noticing the exhale, air flowing out. Your mouth, chest, and the stomach suck back in. Energy raised up into the crown subsides down into the lower stomach and the groin. Lower stomach into the spine. The count of 2, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair and your feet touching the ground. Noticing what you're feeling and touching with your hands. Maybe there's a subtle smell in your nose, a taste in your mouth. Notice all of this. It's very still, calm, and surrendered state. And so you're going to carry this calmness, this peace, this surrendered state of true awareness with you wherever you go for the rest of the afternoon and evening. And to help you do that, just remind yourself of today's lesson frequently. Ideally every hour. Yesha recommends, even if it's just for a few seconds. My awakening is in this moment. Say that to yourself, one conscious breath, and you reconnect with this presence. That's the most important thing, is to feel this feeling in that moment, and use the breath and the words to be a catalyst for that experience. So practice every hour with the lesson. I've sent you a text message to help you to do that, or listen to the 3-minute breath break I sent you, and that will help you stay connected to this presence no matter what seems to happen. So it is said, and so it is done. And then on the count of 3, now open your eyes. So just take a minute to look around, coming back into full sensory awareness. So all of your senses are engaged. Your visual sense usually being the strongest one for most people. So just look around, notice objects in the room around you. Focus on one for a few seconds. Notice the awareness that you have is still the same peaceful awareness you had when your eyes were closed. Then move on to something else. Look at any other object randomly and notice it's exactly the same awareness. If you're not focusing on the object itself and naming it and judging it and labeling it, then it's simply there's simply this underlying awareness. So you teach yourself through this kind of mind training exercise that this awareness is the truth of who you are, and there really is nothing else. Or everything else, perception is illusion. Only this fundamental awareness remains the same no matter what. So I hope you will stay rooted in that awareness, in this present moment awareness, and stay awake, because your awakening, as reinterpreted lesson says today, my awakening is in this moment, and that is every moment. So you're awake in every moment, and I wish you every blessing in that present moment awareness. So thank you for joining, everyone, and hopefully see you tomorrow. Namaste. Okay, so Lena's still there. I'm just going to say bye. Lena, are you still there? Maybe Lena's going to sleep. Okay, so namaste, Lynn. Thanks for joining, and hopefully see you soon.